Well. It seems they disagree with the Old Testament. Is that right? Well, let's hope that they can. Let's hope that they can definitely learn something today, because certainly this is one of the more difficult passages of what Moses is trying to talk about here, that people often misrepresent because I think they're unaware of Jewish culture, but also they're unaware of the way the Mosaic Law works. They think it's a book of don't do this, do that. It's actually more of a case-by-case basis to explicitly highlight certain aspects of each teaching. The way Moses writes in the book of Deuteronomy is very interesting. And so, with that being said, does God justify, and it puts the fruit there, but remove the G, fruit grapes? Let's keep moving.
Justify a God that says that a rape victim should have to be wed to her rapist.
If you want to tell me where that's at, we can pull it up and look at it, because God is not condoning rape.
This one says, if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall...
That dastardly New International Version, also known as the NIV, of course. But nevertheless, I will say, as a Christian, I do like this language that it uses, and I'll tell you guys why in a moment.
Pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives.
Back up just a couple of verses.
I don't have the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Okay, you just got that.
Verse.
If we back up to verse 25, it says, "But if a man finds a betrothed young woman in the countryside, and the man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. There is the young woman no sin deserving of death. For just as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the countryside, and the betrothed young woman cried out, but there was no one to save her." In verse 25, here's a man forcing himself on her. She's crying out. She obviously doesn't want to do it, and he is raping her, right? And it says specifically that man should be put to death. Now, if we go down to the verse 28, which is the very next verse, it says, "If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give to the young woman's fathers 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. Because he has humbled her, he shall not be permitted to divorce her all the days of his life." This doesn't say anything about him forcing himself upon her or her crying out like that other verse did. So this is actually, in the context, them sleeping together, not her like crying out to get out of it, and not him forcing himself on her. It doesn't use that same terminology. So it would almost contradict itself if it's saying, hey, if the man rapes her here, then he should be put to death. But if he rapes her here, then he shouldn't. It contradicts itself. Basically, she's giving consent and they're lying together. And he's saying in that instance, then they should actually marry one another.
Not bad. Not a bad defense. Let's see what the commenters say real quick, and then we'll get straight into it. Now then, context is all. First commenter says context is always the missing element in the argument for those in the extreme left and right, for it destroys their irrational beliefs. This is one of the commonest convos I've seen. That is true. Let's see. Perfect example as to why it's important to read scripture in context. Yeah. Did she accept your explanation? Good question. Probably not. She is actually listening. I hope God protects her. Glad she stuck around to hear. Praying a seed was planted and she born again. It's true. Yes, the NIV is not good. I like ESV and KJV. Genuinely glad she came with her point made it, then listen to the explanation. And the last comment we'll read is context is key. Actually, we'll read this last one here. It says, "Dang it, I bought an NIV version. I don't know why I did that." It's not too bad of a version, though I do think it nerfs important aspects and in some ways frames other things poorly. Now, I think that every translation is well, let me not say that, for there's probably, well, the Queen James version Bible exists to explicitly remove Bible. So let me not say every version, because just that of itself is proof alone that not every version will represent the text in a well enough fashion. So let me actually take that back, because yeah. Now then, regardless, most translations generally can, like, even with the language they use, can be persuaded or can be persuasive to highlight the same aspects that the chapter is, or whatever book of the Bible is trying to position itself. Now, I'm personally using the ESV, but we're going to go under the fact or the assumption that it is fact. We're going to pretend that it does say rape there. But I do think, oh great, my goodness, gotta comply with YouTube policies. I hope, I'm gonna have to probably edit that out a little bit, because, well, I want the video to reach people at some point. So let's start off at verse 13 with the common principle. It says that laws concerning sexual morality. Now, this first case, a man takes a wife and goes into her and then hates her and accuses her of misconduct, bringing a bad name upon her. So this is essentially somebody accusing somebody of infidelity. What is the case? Well, naturally, he says, well, this person, I did not find her as, she was not a virgin when I found her. This is important. She did not maintain her purity. Because, the Bible says you're supposed to go from your father's house to your husband's house. All right? You're not supposed to have this sort of small phase, where you're, what do they call them? 304s? Is that what they call them? And basically going around the pogo stick. No, you're just actually supposed to go from your father's house to marriage. And so this person says, wait a minute, I did not find this person as a virgin. Now, the move, well, take what evidence she has of her virginity to the elders. With this, you obviously have purity clothing that you were supposed to maintain and keep. And obviously, if you were not a virgin, then these things will be impure. So there's obviously some sort of conduct of how you present yourself that plays into how you have evidence to defend yourself. It's basically how you present yourself, defend yourself, right? And so naturally, they take this evidence to the elders, those the judges of Israel, and the end results. Well, if there's evidence, then naturally this individual who is lying now has to be given punishment. And so this first clause is accusations of uncleanness, that we found that he was wrong. Let's give him some punishment. Why? Because he brought shame upon a virgin of Israel. Now, this is the case. You're defending a woman's honor. Second case, well, like the opposite of the same case. If the virginity was not found, well, now unfortunately now she has to go, because, well, simply put, she's brought that word right there. She's brought that into her father's house, and naturally we got to purge the evil from Israel. And so this is obviously the principle here is purity is important, and defending a woman's honor is important. Next case, if a man is found lying with the wife of another man, so adultery now. So you went from possible infidelity to adultery. Well, now both participants have to go. They have to be cooked. They have to get up out of here. We have to send them. We have to send you to Jesus. We have to get you out of here. And so that's the end of that. And so next case, if a betrothed virgin and a man meets her in the city, this is a case of betrothed virgins, meaning fiance of somebody else. A man meets her in the city and lies with her. They both gotta go. They both have to go. Why? Because she did not cry out for help in the city, and the man, because he violated his neighbor's wife. In other words, because you both are, well, cheaters, you both have to go. The whole point of this is integrity. Both cases here are about integrity. And so naturally, in both cases, infidelity is met with you both gotta go. And so naturally, now we have the case of which Nicholas perfectly described here, where, let's see, a man meets a young woman who is betrothed, and the man sees her and lies with her. Then only the man shall be cooked, because he took her, and, well, as the text says, it's as though a young woman cried for help and no one was there to save her, and that's a tragic thing. And so again, we already established that. So first things first, Virginity matters. It's a very important thing. I know in today's age, these unholy people don't know anything about being pure, but it's actually a very important thing by God that you maintain your purity. Naturally, we thank God that our God is a forgiving God, but the point is, he still is about his business. For even Jesus said, "Do not think I've come to destroy the law." And this is part of the law. Don't think I've come to destroy what is right and what is wrong, and law and the prophets. No, I've come to fulfill that. I've come to uphold that, the righteousness of the law. And he does it multiple times. But nevertheless, next case. Now, infidelity of a man lying with another man's life. They both gotta go. What about a betrothed version, a fiance? They both gotta go. That doesn't matter. Adultery and infidelity is wrong in all cases. Now we go to verse 25, and now we get this idea of, okay, a man taking advantage of somebody else's woman. And by the way, regardless of her being betrothed or not, you take advantage of somebody else's woman, aka whether that's somebody else's daughter or somebody else's wife, this would apply because you seized the person and no one was able to rescue her from your hands. So now you gotta go. Now we get to this final concept where a virgin meets a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and sees her and lies with her, and they are found. And the man, why doesn't he die in this case is often what is stated. Why does essentially a woman have to marry her abuser? And the problem here is, this is not abuse. We've already established abuses of infidelity and abuses of rape. We've already established that. And so this is to highlight how you've dishonored her consent by not having the consent of her father. We talk about this concept of getting the father's blessing, but this is sacred. She has been under the care of her father her entire young and adult life, minor and adult. And so you have dishonored her by violating her rights that her father has over her. And so that's why you have to pay a hefty price to him, because you dishonored her by dishonoring her family's name. Again, let's read this in context. So why is this worded as grape in some translations? Well, it's worded that way because of this word right here in the Hebrew, which there is a grape equivalent for a Hebrew word, and it's not this one used here, but it's because the language is lay hold or take, snatch. They obfuscate the meaning of this chapter because they think the language can only mean what they believe it to mean. Now, personally, I could work with that, by the way. I could work with that because I do think that if you don't have a father, I do think the Bible makes a case here that if you don't have the father's consent over his daughter, or to lay hold to his daughter, then you are raping her, because that is her protector. That is her protection. Just forget it. Just provider. Her protection and provider. That is her family's name. And so if you don't have his consent, how dare you think you can lay hold on his daughter? And so I think the word grape there can be utilized to again highlight the chapter's point, but definitely not to highlight what they think is someone taking advantage of a woman, and essentially the rapist has to marry the girl. No, he's violated this woman because he dishonored her family's name and lay held on something that was not given to him. But nevertheless, with that being said, that's the video right there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think I hit the nail on the head? Do you think the woman is right, or do you think or some other thing? Let me know what you guys think. With that being said, I appreciate you for watching this far. God bless and stay blessed. Take care. See you guys in the next one.